Welcome to tonight's post-NBA trade deadline edition of the Klown Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Please check me out at www.theklowntimes.net. That's Klown spelled with K. You can probably see right here, minus the glare. But anyway, it's www.theklowntimes.net. You can find me on Facebook as well, where you're on a smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever you are, where it may be. Just type in the Klown Times in the search window. You'll find me there as well. And two things actually. Speaking of which, get the merch at cafepress.com, search for Klown Time Sports. And last, definitely not least, please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm like 17 subscribers away from 600, which is like, I couldn't believe that I'll be even talking about like staring at a barrel at 1,000. But at any rate, even if you do not like what I have to say or my guests have to say, which I feel some of you may not like what I have to say, but just comment anyway. And share with some of your homeboys, homegirls. They'll talk trash too. We'll have a good old time because in any event, you will be glad you did. And I'll be glad you did. All right. So speaking of NBA, you see my buddies, right back here to talk it with me is a crazy NBA trade deadline. Probably some stuff that hasn't been reported yet that we don't know about. But anyway, to help break that down, my NBA buddies, that'll be Kevin McCune, see with the snazzy jazz hat to my left, and Jared Singleton, who's shy with the logo at the bottom. So, gentlemen, welcome back to the Klown Hour. How you guys?
Doing good, yeah. I always love being on. Really appreciate it every time you have us.
Yeah, man.
I must say the same thing. I just don't have a nice little area that I can go to. The 5-year-old goes to bed, and I have to go into the garage, and y'all don't want to see my garage.
I hear you, man. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. We're all family, man. So, hey, I got you. All right, so NBA trade deadline. Where in the world do we start, right? I mean, shoot. If Kyrie being traded wasn't big enough, then you had Russell Westbrook finally being dealt by the grace of God if you're a Laker fan, right? And then if that wasn't big enough, you would have gotten a notification while you were sleeping that Kevin Durant was traded from the Nets to the Phoenix Suns. So, and there are other trades too, like good ones, like Eric Gordon going to the Clippers, John Wall being sent back to the Rockets, he's probably going to be bought out. Like Jay Crowder getting sent to the Bucks, Warriors dealing Wiseman, and also in a rush trade, D'Angelo Russell goes from the Timberwolves back to the Lakers, which will help him a lot. So basically, Kevin, I'm gonna start with you, man. We'll start with Kevin Durant first and work our way down. We knew that the Kevin Durant trade was inevitable. It kind of sits from this past offseason. But did you think he would go as quick as he did?
When you had us on back in the summer, I think me and Jared both speculated that the Suns would probably inevitably be the destination just because they had Booker there. They had it was an attractive place where he wanted to go.
Right.
I don't know. Part of me thinks I don't know if Brooklyn could have got more in the summer than what they did now.
Right.
By kind of holding out. I mean, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that what they got in return was infinitely better than what the Jazz got in the Rudy Gobert deal. I mean, sure. Bridges is probably the best player, but not by a significant margin in as far as guys that got dealt in those two deals. So it didn't feel like the Nets got as much as I think maybe they should have, or maybe they wanted to. Mm-hmm. But now, I mean, him in Phoenix, I think he's going to be a missing piece for them. I think right. He fits in really well what they do there. And I'm excited to see what that team can do for sure.
Now, Jared, man, to Kevin's point, Kevin Durant's that piece, right? He is the ultimate fire starter, if you will. I know he's hurt right now. He's supposed to be due back shortly after the All-Star break. How realistically and how far can this Phoenix team go? I don't have the records in front of me right now. I'll go get it right quick, but what is the expectation right now of Phoenix, and where do you realistically predict Phoenix will end up? Because Phoenix is the fifth in the Western Conference right now. They're on a 3-game winning streak. And, they're poised to make a move in the West is there for the taking. It's so wide open, right? So, although they're 8.5 games back of Denver for the top spot, but basically, if you're a Phoenix Suns fan, or if you're the NBA aficionado that you are, Jared, what's the realistic expectation of Phoenix post Kevin Durant going forward?
Championship from any seed that they just so happen to get.
Yeah.
I mean, the next 25, 28 games, however many it is essentially just a feeling out period for the 3 stars and Ayton to kind of get themselves acclimated with each other. And then from there, I mean, how do you stop that offense? Like that's going to be a tough task, and they're not going to stop many people. But you're going to have a lot of games of 138 to 130 with Phoenix being on top.
Kind of like the 80s NBA all over again.
Like, I don't see – I know Vegas has them as the odds-on favorite in the West now, and I can understand why, and I can't exactly argue that. I don't see – as good as Denver is, I don't think Denver's as talented. Golden State, hard to bet against them, but again, talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you look at the teams just in front of the Suns in the West, I'm picking the Suns in every playoff series, whoever they're going up against. I mean, the Kings, I think, have been a great story. It's been great for Mike Brown, getting that opportunity. But, I mean, you're talking about Harrison Barnes.
Right.
And it's just there's no guy on the Kings that, like, you can even compare it to Booker, let alone Kevin Durant or Chris Paul. And then the Grizzlies, I think there's, all due respect to Ja Morant, I think there's a little bit of an immaturity there that I'm not sure that they're ready to
they're
get
not ready. They're definitely not ready. They're definitely more than a moment.
I think it's be really cool once we finally get to see the Mavericks with everybody healthy. And, I don't want to jump ahead, but, I know that they're a rumored player in the Westbrook buyout, and they got to the Western Conference Finals playing 3 guards last year, and arguably the 3 guards they'd be playing this year would be significantly better than that trio. But yeah, the only other team other than the 3 I mentioned are the Nuggets, and they seem like they're always there in the standings, but never in the playoffs. So, the Suns certainly, like Jared said, seem like the team to beat right now in the West now with what they have.
Hey, speaking of Memphis, can someone ask Ja Morant about that comment he made about, that he ain't worried about anybody in the West other than Boston in the East? Does he worry about Phoenix now that they got Kevin Durant, who's going to be healthy after the All-Star break? I'm just curious of Ja Morant's thoughts on that.
They got him Luke Kennard, so he should be.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, he's a damn good shooter. But speaking of which, you mentioned Dallas, man. I'll go back to you, Kevin. Kyrie Irving. We all seen his track record. You a Cavs fan, you seen it up close, what he did in Cleveland, right? After they won their title in 2016, how he wanted out because he was bumping heads with LeBron before he came to appreciate him from afar. And his acting in Boston, we all know how that ended up and how it ended up. And of course, Brooklyn, he wanted to go there. He also said that he didn't need a coach, that they didn't need a coach. I mean, that was just one disaster after another. And that led to eventually, his COVID deal. I mean, again, I'm not going to debate the man on COVID per se. That's another side debate. I'm just saying if the team makes rules, and if you happen to be in the city that has different types of COVID regulations, and if, again, if you're on a team that has championship aspirations, you have to abide by it, right? If you won the chances of championship. So that, of course, in like told Peter that season, and we all see what happened. So what happened from there? Only one playoff series win to show for it. So he's in Dallas. Okay, Mark Cuban's team, Luka Doncic's team. could Kyrie can't possibly screw this up, could he, Kevin?
Well, I think Kyrie he's proven he can screw anything up. But
Yeah, you're right.
no, I think as from a basketball perspective, I think it's a great situation for him. I just mentioned a moment ago, Dallas running multiple guards last year out in their lineup with Dinwiddie and Brunson and Doncic, and I think Luka's the type of player that he is LeBron-like in the way that he plays, and I think don't make people mad. I think he maybe a little bit better knows as a scorer than LeBron, but I think that his type of game will mesh very well with Kyrie's, and I think I'll attribute Colin Cowherd. I was listening to him on it and his take on it, and I thought I don't always agree with things he says, but I think what he said here I thought was fair, and that was just that Kyrie is kind of proven that he needs to be more of like that second guy, and in the position he thrived in with LeBron. Whereas in Boston, he kind of was the alpha or wanted to be the alpha, and that didn't work out. And then in Brooklyn, it was kind of just a mesh of things that didn't work. And so here it's Luka's team. There's no question about that. And I think that maybe takes some of the front and center pressure off of Kyrie. But I think from a strictly basketball standpoint, his style of play, I think it's going to fit in very well. I mean, we already saw it. They already won the other night against the Clippers without Luka in the lineup, and Theo Pinson went off. But I think from a basketball perspective, I think they're the one team that I said when you look at these four teams in front of the Suns right now, who gives me pause. Well, if everything works out for them, then perhaps they could give me a little pause.
Now, Jared, one last thing about Kyrie and Durant. Is it a stretch to say that Dallas and Phoenix, on paper, are the two best teams in the West, regardless of where they're at in the conference standings right now in the West?
I don't necessarily agree with that on Dallas. Like, as much as I like the Kyrie Luka pairing, I would, if you're going to put them in a series against Denver, I think I'm going to take Denver, because Denver is the much deeper team, and Jamal Murray is much closer to Kyrie Irving than you would think as a player when it comes to, you're going to have the top 3 players, in each in any given series with Doncic and Kyrie. But, I really am pretty high on what Denver can do. And Jamal Murray's rounded into form after his ACL tear. And that's where I would say, if you had to say who are the top 2 teams in the West, I would have to say Phoenix and Denver, not Phoenix and Dallas.
Gotcha. And you know what? I agree with that. I think that people are sleep. I can't say people sleep on Denver because they got the reigning 2 back-to-back MVP, right, and Jokic, right, and then you have Jamal Murray, and of course there's this guy named Michael Porter Jr., right? So I think that they're the top seed. They're probably going to be the top seed once the regular season ends. But it's going to be fun. The Western Conference playoffs, it's going to be pretty fun again. Right. Because let's just be real. I still think the Eastern Conference is slightly stronger in terms of deepness, maybe because you got the top 4 in Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, and I am blanking Brooklyn, and actually Cleveland. I think Cleveland's better than Brooklyn. But point being is that I think that now the West has something that could rival the East in terms of playoff excitement. So it's going to be fun, y'all. It's going to be fun. And by the way, for those of you out there who are looking to bet on the NBA playoffs as far as how far they'll go post NBA trades, go to BetUs.com. So listen to our sports bettors. Our favorite sportsbook, BetUs.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus up to 20%, BetUS offers their members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, UFC, and MLB. And if you're looking for live in-game betting, incredible odds with daily odds, boosters, props, and parlays, they got them. How about fast payouts and exceptional one-on-one customer service? They got that too. So log on to betus.com or call 800-793-3887. That's 800-793-BETUS. You can use the promo code TKT for the Clown Times as well. BetUS.com where the game begins. All right, Jared, I'm gonna stick with you for a minute and talk about Brooklyn going forward. If you own a Joe side, all you can do right now is just shake your head, right? Because like remember that ballyhoo free agent signings of Irving and KD, and then later on they facilitated a trade for James Harden because for some reason they didn't think it would work with I forgot the center that's now with Jared
Allen.
Jared Allen, yeah. For some reason they thought that that Jared Allen wasn't the center that they wanted to play with. I don't know why they thought that, but anyways, not him there. They got rid of Kenny Atkinson as the head coach, who did a damn good job, I thought, there. And all they just have to show for it, man, with all the turmoil and the fanfare, was just one series playoff win. That's all I got to show for it. So if you're looking at this, Jared, with two questions, and I'm gonna ask Kevin the second question, but I'm gonna ask you this, Jared. Would this go down as an all-time NBA disappointment, all-time disappointments in NBA history, not NBA history, if not all professional sports, considering like the expectation?
Considering the expectations going into it, yeah, you would have to say this is one of the bigger disappointments in sports history. As far as how owner Joe Tsai is feeling right now, I think he has just kind of looked at this like, I have now washed my hands of this. Let's move on. It's done. It happened. We tried. It didn't work, and now we're moving on.
I get it. I totally get it. I totally agree with that because that's just drama after drama after drama. So Kevin, also let me ask you this question. If you're Brooklyn, and Jared alluded to it, like, as far as Joe Tsai washing his hands of it, got the draft picks, you got Spencer Dinwiddie, probably going to make another trade that we hadn't heard about already. Where do you go from here if you're Brooklyn? I mean, you're still in the playoffs. You think of the playoff hunt. You got talented guys on paper. You got Mikal Bridges. You got Cam Johnson. You don't have stiffs. You still have Steph Curry. You still got shooters. Yeah. Where do you go from here in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a couple nice young pieces, Brooklyn. You look at Cam Thomas. He's a guy that's going to slide in at shooting guard, averaging 10 a game, shooting 35% from three.
Yeah, 10 a game, but since Kyrie's been traded, he's scored in 3 games like 135 points.
Right. So,
there you go.
You got a good young player in him. Dinwiddie's not so young anymore, but I mean, he's having Dallas is whatever they did with him in Dallas. Like he went from a guy that could barely shoot near 30% from the 3-point line. This year he's shooting 40%. His game's just kind of elevated the last few years, and now he's returning to Brooklyn. Bridges is a good young player, and I think Jared alluded to Thomas blowing up since Irving left. I think Bridges is going to have to see if he can shoulder some bigger scoring numbers than what he was expected to do in Phoenix. Just because I think in Brooklyn he's going to be more of a centerpiece in what they're doing. But really, I think all in all, they've acquired a ton of draft capital from the trades. I think they have a chance to be relatively solid with some of the young guys they have now. And I think really it's just the team perspective, like how do they want to, position themselves going forward? Do they want to try to compete, for that 6th, 7th, 8th play-in seed, 9th play-in seed, whatever? Or is this something where, some of these guys that, maybe come this summer, we start seeing some more moves as they continue to just try to acquire assets and just try to strip this thing down even more. But they have flexibility with the young guys that they do have, and those guys have talent. I mean, no, they're not Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, and few people are, but I think, like I said, I think they've got a little bit of flexibility. It'd be interesting to see which way they go with it. If they choose like, hey, Thomas and Bridges, these guys are our core going forward. We just need to build around them. Dinwiddie also, maybe I foresee Dinwiddie potentially not having a long-term stay in Brooklyn this time around, just because I don't think he fits in with a potential rebuild, but who knows? Like I said, if it's they've got a good coach. Everybody on the team, I mean, with the exception of Nick Claxton, who doesn't take 3-point shots, I don't think ever. Everyone in the starting five right now is shooting, above 35% from the 3-point line. So Scott, you mentioned they're a great shooting team. That's always something to hang your hat on in the NBA. They can score the basketball. So like I said, I feel like they have one or two ways they could go with it. It'll be interesting to see what they choose.
You know what, fellas, and I want to close out the Brooklyn Nets section of this podcast by saying this. To me, this whole thing with this whole fiasco with the Brooklyn Nets experiment with Kevin Durant and the superstar experience, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. And I wouldn't really blame James Harden as much, because James Harden just could not deal with Kyrie's quirkiness. He was like, I gotta get up out of here, right? And no one could blame him. I don't think many people could blame him for that, to be honest with you. There's something to be said about, I'm all for player empowerment, but there's something to be said about executives placating to players' emotions, right? You notice that every move that general manager Sean Marks made was based off the emotion and the whims of Kyrie and KD, okay? Like, you notice that, Kyrie always said he needed a coach. They wanted to handpick a coach because they didn't want Kenny Atkinson. So they got the inexperienced Steve Nash to coach them. And we saw how that turned out. You remember when Ime Udoka coached circles around them in the playoffs. And then, KD, he saw how things are going. He wanted out, even though he just signed a 4-year extension. So, and though none of those guys strike me as the best leaders anyway. So again, God bless Brooklyn for washing their hands of the situation. I know that tens of fans would appreciate that, but the fact of the matter is this: player empowerment is good. I'm all for it. But I think we saw the downside of player empowerment in this case with the Nets. And, that Brooklyn really has nothing to show for it. Again, just one playoff series win. And, who knows how Kyrie and KD will do their newest destinations. But, I mean, again, it's too bad for Kenny Atkinson. It's too bad for Steve Nash in a way. It's too bad for the fans. And it kind of is what it is. But, again, that's what happens when you deal with people's emotions rather than logic and doing the right thing by your team and only by your team. So,
as a Knicks fan, how did it feel to be the team in New York that wasn't dysfunctional?
I'm literally laughing my ass off. It's like it's like I almost forgot that James Dolan owns my team. Let's put it that way. I almost forgot that we have a dysfunctional dude who owns our team. But it was just nice to see, not only that, but to see us doing work under the radar for a change, not shooting for the moon and superstars, not mortgaging our future like we did with Carmelo Anthony, even though I'm a huge Carmelo Anthony fan. I love the fact that we're doing it the right way this time, but it also cracks me up because I still consider the Nets New Jersey. I still slip and call New Jersey. I mean, I almost did it. I did it again. I almost always slip up and call the Brooklyn Nets New Jersey Nets. Because when I see the Nets, I don't see Brooklyn where I'm originally from. I don't see Brooklyn where my mother grew up. I don't see Brooklyn where my brother lived, has a residence. I don't see the Brooklyn that my grandparents lived, and I have relatives who are still there to this day. I see New Jersey, right? Because I'm a dude of a certain age who remembers the Nets being in New Jersey for a very long time. So that being said, Brooklyn tag, you're in. So I feel pretty good. Not the butt of jokes for a change in the Big Apple. Yeah, there you go. Speaking of big media markets and big moves, let's move to LA. The unthinkable happened. No more Russell Westbrook, right? They traded away Russell Westbrook in a package that ended up bringing back D'Angelo Russell, another Russell, if you will, from the Minnesota Timberwolves, who I believe will be a far better match with LeBron and Anthony Davis and company. Because unlike Russell Westbrook, D'Angelo Russell can actually shoot the ball and actually makes decent decisions with the basketball. So, Jared, let me stay with you, brother. If you're a Laker fan, how happy are you with Russell Westbrook being finally shipped out of town?
I mean, I don't know. I guess as a Laker fan, I'm happy because that was just a disaster from the word go, from what you were expecting it to be if you were a Laker fan. However, any sane basketball person saw that trade and thought it was doomed from the start, and there was maybe one way it could go right, and the rest were just going to go horribly, horribly wrong. Yeah, it's great to have him out, and I think I made the comment last night to you guys that the trade was essentially a get out of jail free card on the Russ trade. What all they were able to recoup and didn't really have to give up too terribly much to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What say you, Kevin? I mean, I didn't think the Lakers would be able to do it. I think they had to part with that, was it 2027 draft pick? I don't have it in front of me, but I think Jeannie Buss finally gave the green light to GM LeBron James and company to make the move to ship Russ out of town. I'm just curious to see how the Lakers do. Would this put the Lakers, how far, Kevin, do you think the Lakers could go as currently constructed right now, post Russell Westbrook?
Oh man, they're already in a hole. I mean, where are they sitting at? Was it 12th or 13th? I'll look real quick in the Western Conference. They're sitting 13th in the Western Conference right now, 25-30. And I kind of figured at some point we would address this, and I was kind of trying to think through my answer before coming on, and honestly, I think I like a lot of what they did. I think what they did is awesome, but I also think like it's a steep climb right now in the Western Conference. Not that, not a steep climb to like say the ninth and trying to get in the play-in. Like I definitely think that that's feasible, getting somewhere, picking up, look at where they're at right now, 13 games back. You look at the 8 seeds, 9.5 back. Can they pick up, 4 games? They definitely can, especially I think the roster now is built so much better around LeBron. But, I think, and also Westbrook was, and it was Dave McMahon said, someone described him as a vampire that sucked the life.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so
that was hilarious.
I think him being gone is going to help a lot, but I mean the West is talented. I mean,
Right.
We talked about Dallas, we talked about Phoenix, and then in front of those 2 teams, there's 3 other teams, and right below those teams, there's another 5 or 6 teams that are all talented teams. I think in terms of this trade, though, I think in terms of your question, I think they can get to the play-in. I think for me, that's the ceiling. I don't think that they're going to be competing for anything higher than that this year with the hole that they're in now. Right. As a big LeBron fan as I am, I hope I'm wrong, because I would love to see him make another deep playoff run or 2 in his career. If the Lakers can build a roster around him that is capable of that. I just don't know that this team right now, with where they're at mid-year, is capable of it this year.
Well said. I'll say this, man. I'll stick with you, Kevin, for a minute, and Jared, feel free to chime in. I like the pieces that the Lakers brought in. I really like what people are not talking about is Jared Vanderbilt. I really like him. He's a good young scorer, something that the Lakers need off the bench. So to your point, Kevin, I agree because the Lakers currently sit 13 games out, but only 2 games out of the play-in, which is the 10th seed, which is currently being occupied by the Portland Trailblazers. I give them a puncher's chance, but I kick it over to Jared actually. But Jared, I think this is LeBron's new reality, right? You got an unhealthy Anthony Davis. You got a team that's gotten younger, and spring chicken, and yet you see all these teams in front of you. It's going to be a hard nut to crack for LeBron for the next how many ever years he's playing, maybe whether it's 2 or 3 more seasons. This is reality, man. Working hard for a playing spot, even next season when everyone gets a fair start. I still don't think they're top 6 or 7 team in the West.
You never know what comes in the offseason.
Right.
You were able to break up Russell Westbrook. You'll be able to clear up a little bit of money in the offseason just from some of the contracts that you have are going to expire. And then you have some guys that you can deal that aren't on massive contracts that can actually equal up to, once you add salaries together, can equal out to, if you want to go the route of another star player, you can go the route of another star player, or you can just bring more people in that aren't minimum salary players. I mean, veteran minimum players are veteran minimum players for a reason. You'd have to go 7 for 7 on them with the way your team's constructed, and they went 1 for 7. So it's it opens up avenues just having Russ off the books. So do I think this is his new reality? Not necessarily. Like, there are ways. This is Los Angeles. There are ways to upgrade now. I mean, there were ways to upgrade before, obviously, you saw, for example, the Russell trade, but now you have a couple of different ways you can go to better position yourself next year, this offseason.
Right. So let's close the shout on this, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Jared, and work our way back to Kevin. It's like people tend to forget there were flurry of trades the last couple of days, right? And this has to be the busiest NBA trade deadline in recent memory. So
yes, it is. Before you ask, let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
What percentage of players in the NBA do you think got traded this trade season?
I'd say, as far as movement, there's a lot of movement. I'd say maybe 30 to 40% of the players.
No, you're way high on that. It's 10%. You saw it was 10.8%, but you think of how many players are actually on rosters. That's a ton of movement in the NBA this year.
Yeah. I mean, it seems so big. I mean, it is being so busy, even though it involves a small fraction of folks. But let me ask y'all this: we all know about KD being moved. We all know about Kyrie being moved. We know about Russell Westbrook being essentially dumped in Utah, from the Lakers, and of course Eric Gordon and a few others. But what other moves out there that was low-key good moves that didn't get enough coverage? And again, I'll start with you, Jared, on that.
First off, I said when the season first started that the Bulls needed to just trade everything and be done with it, wash their hands of the Vucevic trade and be done. They did the absolute opposite. They just stood pat. So boo-hoo for me. Yeah. I had to get that off my chest. As for good moves, I like your Knicks trading for Josh Hart. next year's $12 million team option. So they can, I think they would accept that. Obviously, I think they would exercise that and then go have a nice cheap player, a nice cheap contract for a really, really good, solid role player who's a spot starter. I thought that was pretty good, and essentially getting him for Cam Reddish and a second round pick. I think he did pretty good there.
Yeah. How about you, Kevin?
Got to unmute myself. No, I like the Celtics getting Mike Muscala late in the deadline. You know, you look at the numbers, you think, oh, it's like not that big of a deal. He's only averaging shy under 7 points per game. But I think the Celtics are a team that we expect to have a deep playoff run. And I think in order to do that, you have to have depth and you have to have guys that are going to contribute off the bench. And I think, you know, Muscala's, in my mind, I think he fits perfectly for what the Celtics are going to need. He's another big. He shoots 39% from three. And you think I could see him making a big shot, you know, in a key moment in a playoff series, you know, and good hustle guy. He's the type of guy that, you know, I think a guy that helps teams win playoff series. And, you know, it's maybe a move that's not going to generate much publicity at all, but Celtics didn't have to give up they didn't have to give up anything. They gave up a guy, Jackson, I think was averaging 0.7 points or something. So to get a guy that I think could end up being a nice cog for them in a playoff series. So, but just staying on the Celtics real quick, I think that Lakers fans owe a debt of gratitude to former Celtic Danny Ainge. And I don't know if Ainge just looked at his roster and thought, you know, looked at the way he built Boston and how, you know, that was through being bad enough to get Marcus Smart and Brown and Tatum. And he looked at the Jazz and he was like, you know, we're a couple games under 500. We're just not quite bad enough to really be safely where I want to be. So let's trade away. Let's give the Lakers two really good pieces in Beasley and Vanderbilt that are, I mean, they're going to fit really well, I think, with LeBron and their play styles and what they do. And they were both having great years for Utah, and Ainge gave them away because he wanted that coveted 2027 first round pick. And I think he also wanted to be a little bit worse of a basketball team. So shout out.
He loves to keep it in picks. He has the fetish for picks.
That's right.
For cultivating picks. I tend to agree with you, Jared. I really love Josh Hart coming to my Knicks. Again, this goes back to what I said earlier. The way we're making moves in New York, doing it quietly, doing it under the radar. Look at the standings. We're getting better gradually. I know Miami is taking over the sixth spot, you know, in the non-playing spots, but still the improvement that my Knicks have shown from last season to this season. And again, doing this the right way, not bringing a huge splash, not mortgaging the future of the team. Just stay in the course, homegrown most of those players. I love it. I love it for the Knicks. And, you know, they say the NBA is a much better place, so the Knicks are good. They're not saying that they're spectacular this year, but they're a hell of a lot better than last year. And that comes from doing what the book of lists did not do, is that's doing it and cultivating under the radar and doing it the right way. So, fellas, first of all, with Kevin, where can they find you on Twitter and other means of social media?
Yeah, just at Kevin McCune. My name is spelled Kevin McCune. That's where you guys can find me. If you disagree with anything I said, please reach out. Please rant. Hit up Scott's comments. You know, like, this guy don't know what he's talking about.
There you go. And how about you, Jared? Where can folks find you on social media? I think he's muted.
Last name, first initial 21 on Twitter. So SINGLETONJ 21 and Twitter.
There you go. All right, fellas. Again, I enjoyed it. We could talk NBA trades all freaking night. You know this, but we gotta let us all go to bed and recharge for next time. At any rate, thank y'all for coming to the show. Thanks to Kevin. Thanks to Jared for joining me, hanging out with me. And thank y'all for tuning into this podcast. Remember, check me out on www.theclowntimes.net. That's Clown spelled with K. Also find me on Facebook as well. Type in the Clown Times, you'll find me there. Also get the merch, CaviPress.com, so the Clown Time Sports. In addition to the hat, you have sweatshirts, hoodies, t-shirts, you name it. So just get it there. Those links will be in the description underneath this video on YouTube. And last but not least, please see the like, comment, share, and subscribe, because you'll be glad you did, and I'll be glad you did. So until next time, y'all take care. Have a great weekend and enjoy some crazy NBA stuff. Peace out.